This is question number 25 on the June 2014 calculator paper. Okay, let's just have a look at the question. The question says, the diagram shows a solid made from, so it's a solid shape made from a hemisphere and a cone. So we have a hemisphere, which is half of a sphere, and a cone at the top. The question says the radius of the hemisphere is 4. The radius of the base of the cone is 4. Calculate the volume of the solid and give your answer to 3 significant figures. Okay, so you should be familiar with many of the aspects of this. If you're aiming for top grade, this is a question that you definitely need to be getting completely correct. Now, this question refers to volume of a sphere or hemisphere and a cone. And if you go to the formula sheet, you should see that you're given this information. The volume of a sphere, this whole sphere, is 4 over 3 pi r cubed. We want the volume of a hemisphere, so we're going to work out the volume of a full sphere and then half it. The volume of a cone is a third pi r squared times height. R is the radius of the base and h is the height of the cone. So we're going to use these two formulas to work out the volume of this shape. So volume of cone, we just saw, was a third pi r squared times height, and volume of a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. We're going to use those two facts to help us work out the volume of the shape. Now let's look at each of them. We're going to split it up into the cone and the sphere. With regard to the cone, I need to know the radius of the base, and the radius of the base is 4. I also need to know the height of the cone. Now the height of the cone is this bit here. That's the height that I need to know. However, if I know that this is 4, that's the radius of the sphere, then this distance here is the same as the radius of the sphere, and that's also 4. So if it's 4 up to here, then the rest of the way is going to be 14 take away 4, which is 10 centimeters. So the height of the cone is going to be 10 centimeters. For the sphere at the bottom, as we just said, the volume of a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. The radius is going to be 4. I could use those two facts to now work out the volume of the whole shape. So the volume of the solid is going to be the volume of the cone, which is 1/3 times pi times its radius, which is 4 squared, times its height, which is 10. And then I'm going to add on to that the volume of the hemisphere. So I'm going to first of all work out the volume of the sphere and half it. So I could have done a half of all of this, 4/3 times pi times the radius, which is 4 cubed. Okay, that is what I need, and I could now use my calculator to work out each of those problems, add up my answer, and then I need to not forget to round it to 3 significant figures. So if I shuffle this further forward, we could do the workings. I can show you what I type into the calculator. Okay, so the first bit, I need to do 1/3, 1 over 3. I've used the fractions key, times pi, which is shift, and then pi down at the bottom, times 4 squared times 10. That's equal to 167.55. So let's write that down. 167.55, and there are loads of bits of decimal places after that. We don't need them all. Remember, we need to round the number to 3 significant figures. If I look at the next one, a half, I'm going to write 0.5 times 4/3, 4 over 3, times shift pi, times 4 cubed. So I've used the calculator to enter all the values there. Press equals, press the SD button. I have 134.04. So 134.04 and so on. If I add these two, I'm going to do 167.55 plus 134.04. That gives me 301.59. That's 301.59, and there'll be other bits after that. Now, rounding this to three significant figures. Remember, when you're doing significant figures or rounding to significant figures, you count from the front. So 1, 2, 3. I'm going to chop it off here, but first I need to have a look at the next number along, which in this case is 5. So my answer, I'm going to have to round this up, and that's going to be 302 centimeters cubed. Do make sure you understand that. This is a pretty straightforward question, right? But make sure you give the answer to three significant figures as they've asked for. Make sure you've shown all stages of your working and use your calculator with due care. Let's look at the whole question again. And if I zoom out, you can see it all. Okay, so this is a question which you should be able to do and get full marks in. The formulae are given at the front of the exam booklet, so those are very, very helpful.